Wherever you are, make it T. Truth Frequency Radio.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. We are in the Great America Free Radio studio on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. This is where the Truth Freaks hang out, and we are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. Welcome. We'll let the YouTube room fill up as we begin. Let me go ahead and give you my Religion of Peace report, because this is where the past meets the future. In here, the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us. My apologies for running an archive last weekend. I was traveling. Hopefully, I will be live until January 5th. I'll be traveling back from New York that night, but other than that, we will try to do a live program all the time here. We're on 4 times a week. I am on 4 times a week. Wednesday and Sunday, I'm on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday for 2 hours, Sunday for 3 hours. And then Monday and Wednesday, I am on with the Quantum Connections, which is a program hosted by Lucky One. And she's had a little bit of equipment malfunctions lately, but she's going to, I believe, be back live this week, and we'll be back at it. I know you can't do without the point-counterpoint there, and it does really well. All right. The Religion of Peace report. In the last 7 days, the Religion of Peace conducted 29 attacks. In these 29 attacks, they killed 137 innocent people. They injured 180 innocent people. No suicide blasts in the last 7 days. And they were active in 11 countries. Those of you that are listening on the Truth Frequency Radio Network at tfrlive.com, it is an audio feed and it is free. You can join the archives by registering while you're listening, of course, at tfrlive.com/X2 Radio. And then you can listen to all the hosts for the same money. If you miss one of the many hundreds of fine programs that we've had on this network, you can always go back and binge and listen to them. They're all good, I promise. And if you're listening on YouTube, you can always subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. Many thousands of you have. According to my statistics, only 14.7% of you have turned on your notifications. So if you're listening tonight or tomorrow or the next day, listening to an archive on YouTube, be sure to check your little notification bell. So next time we're live, you'll be notified and you can jump on here and you can join the chat room as it's moving along over here in YouTube. And I will try to welcome everybody. Half Q is there, Terry's there, Alan's there. And let's see. Oh, yeah, Leslie is there. And Piper Vogel, thank you very much for being there so early tonight. All right, let's get into it. Mad Max. We've heard a lot of cataclysmic predictions of what's going on with the solar cycle, what's going on with the polar shift, what's going on with economics, with politics. And we are from time to time shown these glimpses of a post-apocalyptic world. Heck, there are movies made about it. Journalist and book author Michael Snyder also says corporate debt is at record highs, standing at $10 trillion. And he is right. He is right. I want to try to put this in balance, put this in perspective so that you get a feel for what could happen and where it could start and when maybe it could happen and what you need to do to prepare. No, I'm not going to try to sell you gold, and I'm not going to try to sell you, remote mountain property or anything, nothing like that. Debt is setting records in every aspect of the economy, but companies are also making profits. Yes, they are. And profits pay back loans. Defaults are actually pretty low right now. If you include all other forms of corporate debt not listed on the stock exchanges, that brings the total to about $15.5 trillion. It's equivalent to about 74% of the gross domestic product. Now, we've never seen anything like this before in U.S. history. And if one stops to think, like cash flow, the whole thing could come apart. Yes, it could. Yes, it could. But like most people who you're going to go out and borrow $250,000 and you're going to build a house, yeah, you're $250,000 in debt. That's probably maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 times your annual income. But you can make the payments. And your income will go up over time. You have a good plan. And you're a creditworthy person with a good, stable job. You see, the conditions are a little bit different. You can't just go out there and say, oh, my God, everybody's $250,000 in debt. Yeah, but there are assets to back it, and those assets are worth the money, and a lot of things affect that. Now, people need to realize the only reason why we have any prosperity at all in this country today is because it is fueled. No. It's fueled a little bit by debt, but it's fueled by cash flow. It's fueled because there's money coming in the front door. Amazon is there, this warehouse that sits over here a mile from my house. It's there because there's money coming in the front door. Walmart is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving, because money is coming in the front door. That's why. It's fueled by cash flow. Now, it's not fueled by cash reserves. No, I mean, look at Clorox. Clorox is a publicly traded company, but it has no debt. It's totally cash rich, and it's still selling product, and it's still competitive. All right. If they stop working, then they can't pull themselves out of the mess, and the end will be rather swift. We have been building up this debt bubble for quite some time, and it got crazy there for a while because there was a lot of debt that wasn't backed. Well, it wasn't backed by anything. We had an exchangeable commodity, which we call a mortgage-backed security. A mortgage-backed security is if you take a bunch of home loans, single-family first mortgage home loans, and put them together into, say, $10 million envelopes. And then you put a rubber band around that envelope and you say, here's, $10 million worth of mortgage-backed securities. It's a block of loans. And they're at 4.5%. And they've made their first 2 years' payments on time. And we made a loan origination fee a couple years ago when we made the loan, and now we want to cash out and we want to make more loans. So you find a buyer for those mortgages and you sell the mortgages. You get a service release premium because there is still interest to be made on these loans. And the new buyer buys the loans at a slight discount, so his yield is maybe a little better Then 4.5%, it might be 6.5% or 6.75%. And he's going to make a good return for a while. And there are companies out there that buy these things. All that's going pretty well now. But in 2008, it wasn't going well at all because that mortgage-backed security, that $10 million block of loans, wasn't worth a bunch of dog crap. Why? Because people had not made their payments on time for 2 years. And there were people in there that had no business buying a first home, let alone a second home or a third home. They were borrowing money with no money down to buy a home to rent it out. They were buying income-producing property with no skin in the game. There were hairdressers that owned 4, 5, 6 homes. They don't make enough money to do that if something goes wrong. They don't have the ability to pay. As long as someone's living in the homes, yeah, that's fine. But you start driving the neighborhoods and find out they're empty. I'm sorry, those mortgages weren't worth anything. And that's what happened in The Big Short. So, look at consumers. U.S. consumers are now $14 trillion in debt, which is an all-time record. State and local governments are at all-time debt record levels. I personally think that debt is asymptotic. You can only reach a certain point. It's not going to go beyond that point. People quickly realize that lower debt leads to more disposable income, which leads to a happier life, and people want to be happier. I mean, if you talk about somebody making $25,000 a year, you want to cover your eyes and say, oh my gosh, that's poverty and devastation. Well, yeah, unless you're debt-free and all that money is disposable. Now, I know a lot of people making $100,000 a year, and they don't have $25,000 a year in disposable income. They don't have $1,000 a month. They don't have $500 a month in disposable income. You see what I'm saying? You know what $500 a month is? $6,000 a year. After all their debt obligations, that's what they have. That's not good. Not good at all. So all the debt has brought us in to a time when this expansion of the bubble, for one reason or another, has led us to a place of relative stability. It could topple pretty easily, and that's always, something people want to take caution of, because they're saying, okay, the wind could blow, and this whole house of cards will come down. But it's like someone who's resorted to paying the home mortgage with Visa checks. You ever know anybody like that? I have. Every time the mortgage payment comes due, they whip out their Visa checkbook. These are checks that you could write on your credit card, and they pay their home mortgage. Yeah, I know. So you're paying a 6% loan with a 19% loan or a 27% loan. Yeah, it's like selling quarters for a dime. You just can't make up for it in volume. We are destroying everything the founders built by insatiable greed in this generation. Well, in a sense, yes, because, like someone sitting in El Salvador or Guatemala or Colombia looking at the United States, we see all this prosperity. We see people riding down the street in $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 cars, 2 of them. And we see them living in $400,000 homes, and they're 28. They're 28 years old. It kind of boggles the mind, doesn't it, yours? And when you're driving down the freeway in your 4-year-old vehicle that you've been faithfully paying on for 4 years and never missed a payment, and you're 51 or 52 years old, and you look over next to you and you see a brand new Mercedes-Benz, one of the really nice ones, the real slick ones. You go, yeah, it's probably about a $70,000 automobile, but the guy driving it's 24, and you think to yourself, who could afford, a $1,500 car payment? Not a 24-year-old. So you wonder to yourself, something's wrong with this picture. No, he's not driving his dad's car. Come on. People that have faith in Wall Street, people that have faith in Washington, people that have faith in the Federal Reserve are in the system. ultimately they're going to be extremely disappointed. But that's ultimately, see, most Americans, they're going to be blindsided by this, and they don't care. They think if it's all coming down, hey, at least I got to drive a Mercedes-Benz for a year or so, right? We're not talking about Mad Max. We're talking about Armageddon. We're talking about the end of America. In the long term, if you want to prepare, you need to prepare for the end of the country. I know it's a little beyond belief, but the question comes up over and over again. What about another country? What if another country goes down? What if it's not America? I mean, you hear what's going on in the news. I do too. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But what happens if it's another country that financially fails and not ours? That's a good question. A lot of people think about that. Well, as it turns out, China missed some bond payments this week. 2 Chinese companies failed to repay bonds worth a combined $500 million Monday of this week, underscoring rising debt risks in the highly leveraged nation as the economy slows, and it is slowing in China. It proves that President Trump's tactics on dealing with unfair China trade are having a massive effect on China. Now, we thought for a long, long time, maybe this is not a good thing. Maybe we don't want China to have this problem, because if they have the problem, then it starts a tsunami, and hey, we live on a round planet. Yeah, I hate to tell you, it's round. The wave will just come right around and get us too. Peking University founder group was unable to secure sufficient funding to repay a 270-day 2 billion yuan, that's about a little less than 300 million bucks, payment, according to a company filing to the National Interbank Funding Center. Tongshu Optoelectronic Technology Company failed to deliver repayment on both interest and principal on a 1.7 billion yuan bond, according to Shanghai Clearinghouse. The quickening speed of bond defaults in China, especially among ailing private firms, highlights the growing financial strain triggered by the country's worst economic slowdown in 3 decades. I wonder why. And unabated trade tensions with the U.S. last week. The worst economic slowdown in 3 decades is no accident. It is by design. It is the direct result of President Trump's trade war policies, which have had a negligible impact on the U.S. economy while pushing China to the brink of economic disaster. Why? I told you why. Because it's cash flow that's keeping the doors open. When the cash stops flowing, no people coming in the doors, no goods going out the doors, no money coming in at the 4th floor, it doesn't take long for that gigantic stone wheel of economics to come around and slap you in the back of the head, which is exactly what's happening to China. China has something we don't have. They have a couple things we don't have. Yeah. First of all, they have 1.2 billion Chinese. That's a big thing right there. We have about 330 million, 325 million Americans, and we have about 30 to 35 million foreign citizens living inside our country. Some of those are undocumented, some of those are documented, but that's the way it is. We have about 325, 328 voting or actual American citizens in the country, and somewhere about 120 million of them actually vote. So the issue that we have is a smaller wheel. It's just a smaller wheel. We have the same issues, but a smaller wheel. And the second thing is that China does not have raw materials. They consumed those a long, long time ago. Well, they have areas with minerals and things like that, but they've expanded out. They've expanded out to Tibet. They've expanded to Venezuela. They've expanded to Brazil, into South Africa, and they're stripping raw materials out of those countries, giving them a pittance for it, bringing those raw materials back to China, and then making finished goods with it from technology that they also took from someone else. The only technology that China really is innovating in and of themselves is artificial intelligence. That they have been able to do, that they've really concentrated on, and you can watch all kinds of specials on it, and it's something to be feared if you want to live in a free society, but if you live in China, it's no big deal. So, in short, President Trump has clearly been right all along, and we support that viewpoint, that China needs us way more than we need them. It's true. We can make shirts in this country. We can make our own microelectronics in this country. But we can also pump our own oil. We can also do a lot of things on our own because we're the ones that invented those things. And we're the ones with the factories that can make those things. And it's just interesting to watch those economics. We take a break on this network every 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes, we'll take a 3-minute break. You can leave your messages one of two ways. You can text them to me in the TFR chat room. You can text them to me in the YouTube chat room, or you can call in. And right now we have a caller on the phone, about 5 minutes left. Let me see if I can bring this caller on in Asheboro, North Carolina. Welcome to the program. What's on your mind, sir? Oh, no, he was just listening. He's just listening. That's okay. Listen, if you're listening out there and you just want to listen without becoming an actual caller, you can call 641-793-7117. 641-793-7117. It's on the website. If that number doesn't work, there's another one, 425-434-2069. 425-434-2069. If you want to call in, you want to make a comment, believe me, highly encourage it. We're super friendly here, and I will answer anything, any and all questions. 213-233-3998, 213-233-3998. That's it. Pretty simple. And I will watch the chat rooms, but the YouTube chat room seems to be clicking along pretty well. Also, thanks, MacGyver. Good stuff there. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. You hit the hitchhiker button. There at the very bottom, you see a little square with a $sign in it. That is the Top Chat donate button. You can always do that. And that helps us buy new equipment and get a better sound for you every single year. We love this year. We bought a new dual turbocharged computer. It's sitting right here, nice and quiet. And it is humming. It is humming. It's got all the bells and whistles and 16 gig RAM on a graphics card, and it does really well. So we can do the YouTube live using the OBS Studio and all that good software. And it just makes a good overall presentation for you. I used to think the FBI always got their man. And I'm not very confident that the FBI does that, actually. Sometimes it appears someone tells them to let the perp go. Sort of like, Lords of War. You remember that movie with Nicolas Cage? The FBI has been chasing him, throughout the movie, and then he catches him, and he tells him, Nicolas Cage tells the FBI agent, in a minute, that phone is going to ring, and you're going to be ordered to let me go, because there are people in the Pentagon who need people like me, because they don't want their hands to get dirty. And that's exactly what happens. Well, maybe not this time. An indictment has been unsealed against the CEO of an online payment processing company and 7 others. Really interesting piece of news that you don't hear very often. They're charging them with conspiracy to make and conceal conduit and excessive campaign contributions and related offenses during the U.S. presidential election in 2016 and thereafter. Hundreds of donations, all of them to Democrats, including Hillary Clinton. Now, I looked up some of the names on this. They're all foreign names. It's all foreign money. Some of it's small, $6,000, $7,000. Some of it large, $250,000, $280,000. Assistant Attorney General Brian Benkowski of the Justice Department's Criminal Division and Assistant Director in Charge Timothy R. Slater of the FBI's Washington Field Office made the announcement this week. A federal grand jury in the District of Columbia indicted Ahmad Andy Khawaja. He's 48, lives in L.A., along with George Nader, Roy Bolos, Rudy Deckerman-Gian, Mohammed Mo Diab, Rainey El Saidi, Stephen Hill, and Thane Whipple. The 53-count indictment charges Khawaja with 2 counts of conspiracy, 3 counts of making conduit contributions, we call that money laundering, 3 counts of causing excessive contributions, 13 counts of making false statements, 13 counts of causing false records to be filed, and 1 count of obstruction of a federal grand jury investigation. All kinds of charges, and these people toned down. Quick break. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured truthfrequencyradio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
More than a dozen astronauts have officially reported UFOs. Hundreds of hours of UFO footage were filmed by astronauts aboard the space shuttle. Many of these UFOs can only be seen in ultraviolet light. Retired former Apollo astronauts and cosmonauts now tell their stories of their own personal UFO encounters.
The Enigma Channel, intelligent television for planet Earth. enigmatv.com.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
You're listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
We are TFR.
Okay. Welcome back. Really quick, I wanted to let you know about the event coming up on January 11th. Tickets are for sale in Eventbrite for this, and it is my Second Chance Success mentoring class. This is the best $47 you're going to spend on yourself, let me tell you. It's 5.5 hours, and it is pure meat and potatoes. If you get to see me at someone else's convention, you're going to see me for 90 minutes. We may talk at the book table, something like that. But this is 5.5 hours, and you're going to get full life experience applied to your situation. We are going to look at how to keep a journal. I know you think you can keep a journal, but I'm going to show you how to keep one. Believe me, I took classes on how to do this in college. Sounds kind of weird, but when you're a scientist, you have to keep a lab notebook, and the lab notebook is your key. You're not only your key to the future, but it's the key to your legitimacy, your entire career. And the things that you put in that notebook and how you put them in that notebook, it's a science that builds upon your personal technology of your life. You're also going to learn how to sell. 95% of salesmen out there have never had a sales course. Oh, they could talk to people. They have the gift of gab. Maybe they can shake a hand. Maybe they look good in a dress or a suit. But there are a lot of things that salesmen and saleswomen do wrong because they've never been trained how to do it right. So we're going to go through that as well. And you think, oh, but I'm not in sales. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I can tell you I'm an engineer. I've been doing it my whole life. 50% of engineering, well, it's engineering, and you better be a good one. The other 50% is selling your engineering to your boss, to your company, to a contract. Somehow you've got to be legitimized, and that is your ability to get your ideas into the head of somebody else and make them believe it. And we're going to show you how to do that as well. All you have to do is go to Eventbrite, or you can go to my website, brooksagnew.com, and click on the Success Mentoring link, and all of the cities where we're going to be appearing next year are there up until maybe the end of the middle of February. And we'll try to put them in there as the days go on. Yes, we may, if we don't get enough people to sign up. It takes about 30 or 40 people to make these things financially feasible for me to get on an airplane, fly out there, ship books out there, rent a hotel room, all that stuff to get this set up. If a number of people don't come, we don't cancel. We will turn it into a webinar. And so then you don't have to get out in the rain or the snow or make a long drive or that either. You can sit in the privacy of your own home, and you're still going to get the 5.5 hours. You're still going to get the face-to-face mentoring, and it's a great deal. It's the best $47 you can spend on yourself. And if you know somebody that could benefit from it, it makes a fantastic gift for someone. All right, let's get back to it. The FBI was founded in 1935. We've talked about that on this program before. Founded by Franklin Delano Roosevelt to protect the interests of the country. We don't really know what that means, and I'm sure there are a lot of fine people working in the FBI, but the FBI was founded in corruption, and it has been generally pointed in that direction since the day it was founded. It is a opposition research firm for the Democrat Party. And I might say they've been doing a really fine job. They've been doing the job. They've been doing it. And that's probably the big issue that we have. They're not looking to protect the Constitution. They're looking to protect the Democrat Party. So, according to this indictment, when we talk about the FBI always getting their man, doesn't always happen. We're going to see what happens tomorrow. Oh, yeah, tomorrow the Impeachment Show continues. We're going to talk about that in one of the last segments of this program. But there are other aspects to it. According to the indictment, from March of 2016, you'll recall that was the election year. You know, that was the year when there was a lot of collusion, from outside the country. And it was all the way through January of 2017. Khawaja conspired with NATO to conceal the source of more than $3.5 million in campaign contributions. By the way, all of these contributions went to Democrats, none to Republicans. They were directed to political committees associated with a candidate for president of the United States. Let's see if I remember right. That was Hillary Clinton. By design, these contributions appeared to be in the name of Khawaja, his wife, and his company. In reality, they were allegedly were funded by NATO. Now, Khawaja and NATO allegedly made these contributions in an effort to gain influence with high political figures, including the candidate. They were buying future influence, something Donald Trump never did and doesn't do today. As Khawaja and Nader arranged these payments, Nader allegedly reported to an official from a foreign government about his efforts to gain influence. Wow. That's crazy that this came out in the trial, that Khawaja and Nader were actually, hello, what do we do now? The influence was coming from a foreign government, not a foreign oligarch, not a foreigner like Soros or a rich billionaire like Steyer or Bloomberg, a foreign government. Wonder who that could be. The indictment also alleges that from March of 2016 through 2018, Khawaja conspired with Bolos, Dekermenjian, Diab, El Saadi, Hill, and Whipple to conceal Khawaja's excessive contributions, which totaled more than $1.8 million, to various political committees. Among other things, these contributions allegedly allowed Khawaja to host a private fundraiser for a presidential candidate in 2016 and a private fundraising dinner for an elected official in 2018. The indictment further alleges that from June of 2019, that's this year, through July of 2019, Khawaja obstructed a grand jury investigation of this matter in the District of Columbia. Knowing that a witness had been called to testify before the grand jury, Khawaja allegedly provided that witness with false information about Nader and his connection to Khawaja's company. Bolos, that's Greek, by the way, Diab, Hill, and Whipple are also charged with obstructing the grand jury's investigation by lying to the FBI. Not a good thing to do. You could lie to Congress. Everybody lies to Congress. Congress lies all the time. It's expected to lie in Congress, but not to the FBI. Currently, Nader is in federal custody on other charges. How about that? Bad guy. An indictment is not a finding of guilt. It merely alleges that crimes have been committed. A defendant is presumed innocent until all proven guilty. And let's see, all the evidence is presented and jury of your peers, blah, blah, blah. By the way, you and me, we've been exonerated since 1787. That's the way it goes. But not tomorrow. Tomorrow, all that changes. Tomorrow, there's no such thing as exonerated since 1787. Nope. Tomorrow, you have to prove your innocence. Yeah, that's what the Democrats have been rehearsing all weekend long. How do we get the president to come here and prove his innocence? It doesn't work that way, folks. You have to prove his guilt. And in order to prove guilt, you have to have what's called a law, we call them statutes. Like, it is against statute blah to do this. He didn't do that. There is no statute. There is no law. Nothing President Trump did violated any law. The only thing it did is it pissed off a bunch of Democrats. So, and I was responding to one of the chatters earlier in here. They asked the question, said that everybody is going to go down. And by the way, Byron, thanks for being there tonight. And also, let's see who else came in. James came in. MG's here. Thank you very much. And there is a contribution. $20 by Alan Holman. Let's all put change in the collection plate. Yeah, that's a good thought. But not just to put money in there. That's a great thing. Also put your comment in there. And Alan has been a great supporter of this program for a long time, and he has great ideas. He accesses all the chat rooms where we appear on this network, on other networks. And a lot of you are out there listening tonight, maybe for the first time. Maybe you should tell a friend about us, because this is really the #1 talk radio program on Sunday nights. Yeah, it's long. It's 3 hours. But you know what? I've been doing it for 15 years, and it seems pretty short because I build up a lot of stuff for this program. And I deliver to you with passion, intelligence, and I will take your questions live, which is not what any other host out there does on online. Online, they pretty much give their thing, and they wait for people to show up in the chat room, and all that's well and good. I don't have a lot of followers. I should have a lot of followers, shouldn't I? But I don't. And you can always reach out by calling in on the line 213-233-3998, and your voice will be recorded for posterity out there in YouTube land. Yes, very good. All good comments in there. I will recognize any comment that comes there. All right, let's talk about the fall of Europe. It's a big deal. You know, we have armies out there, and we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars to protect Europe against the Soviet Union. Yeah. I know they're not there anymore. You've heard that too, right? Hey, we spend more money on national defense than the other 25 countries behind us, and 20 of them are allies. Why are we spending on national defense for allies? They should be spending it for themselves. Yes, you're right. Well, significant social change usually takes place over the course of many decades, but sometimes gradual trends enter into an acceleration phase, and massive social transformations take place in a matter of years, not decades, not generations. Just a few years ago, who would have imagined that the demands of the transgender community, we call them the alphabet people, would become the determining factor in the decisions of school boards, corporate boards, and athletic associations? Who would have thought that the right of boys to enter girls' locker rooms, or the right of drag queens to conduct story hours in public libraries to kids, would someday outweigh all other considerations? And yet, here we are. That which we once abhor, we soon tolerate and then embrace. Thus far, the Islamization of several major European states has also been a gradual process. But there are signs that this trend is now beginning to accelerate, and we knew that it would. It was by design. After a 9/11 style plot was recently foiled by French intelligence services, the new Interior Minister, Christopher Castaner, revealed that 60 such attacks have been foiled since 2013. 60 of them. Any one of which would have been a catastrophe for France. Meanwhile, 235,000 complaints for rape or attempted rape were filed last year. This was 62,000 more than the year before, and an astonishing 225,000 more than in 2005. In 2018, there were also more than 1,000 anti-Christian attacks, mostly the desecration of churches. 541 anti-Semitic acts, up 64% from 2017. And a shocking statistic when one considers that Jews only make up less than 1% of the French population. Charles Gave, an economist who published an article on the demographic suicide of Europe, wrote that within 30 years, France will submit to Islam. Within 30 years. Now, they've been fighting Islam for almost 1,400 years. They have fought wars over it. Yeah, real wars with spears and arrows and cannons. Yeah, real wars. And managed to stay free. But they're going to submit to Islam within 30 years. How is it going to be done? Likewise, when journalist Eric Zemmour wrote that he fears that the fight for the survival of France is a battle already lost. By the way, both these men were accused of Islamophobia. While anti-Muslim attacks are much fewer than anti-Christian or anti-Jewish acts, and while only a few journalists even dare to criticize Islam, and we're not criticizing Islam, French leftists have managed to create the perception that the nation is endangered by a wave of Islamophobia. Yeah, they're not endangered by a wave of Islam. They're endangered by a wave of fear of Islam. Well, on November 10th, which was just a few days ago, just a few days ago, a coalition of left-wing groups organized a 13,000-strong march in Paris against Islamophobia. Paled in comparison to the millions of yellow vests, but it was there. While the French are engaged in their quick-time march to Islamization, a similar phenomenon is occurring in the UK. I was there. I saw it. Every store, every restaurant, every hotel, every place. Every place. The British have been in appeasement mode for a long, long time. And so have the Irish, and so have the Scots. For more than a decade, police and other authorities turned a blind eye to the activities of Muslim grooming gangs who were responsible for rape and prostitution of thousands of teenage girls in towns and cities across the English Midlands. On the other hand, authorities were quick to prosecute a handful of Islamophobes who called attention to the crimes. Tommy Robinson, you know him, arrested on at least 4 occasions. Islamophobia now seems to be a hate crime in England. On October 22nd, the Jewish blogger who goes by the name of Fahrenheit 211 and who has been critical of Islam was handcuffed and arrested at his home by at least half a dozen police. The constables were led by a Muslim officer who is attached to the hate crime and hate speech unit organized by Sadiq Khan, the Muslim mayor of London. The blogger was jailed on suspicion of Islamophobia, a terrible crime. As Fahrenheit notes, it's increasingly common in Britain to be arrested for such crimes of wrongthink. The blogger is just the latest in a long line of British citizens who have run afoul of the law for saying the wrong thing about Islam. There is a reason to believe that the Islamization of England could soon accelerate to warp speed. And this is because there's a chance that Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party's hard-left candidate, could become the next Prime Minister. In a recent piece for Gatestone Institute, journalist Con Coughlin suggests that a Corbyn government would jeopardize Britain's security and intelligence sharing relationship with Washington because of Corbyn's open association with, and I quote, regimes and groups that are utterly hostile to the West and its allies. Imagine that. I wonder where the money's coming from. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How all this money comes in from foreign governments and influences elections. This, according to Coughlin, would include Corbyn's close association with members of, and you're probably going to recognize these fine upstanding names, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Iranian regime. Yes, Close with them. Close. A Corbyn government would not only pose a danger to the U.S.-UK security relation, it would also endanger the citizens of the UK. His pro-Islamist sympathies make it highly likely that the pace of Islamization in Britain would shift into high gear. Something else to consider here is that Britain is one of the 5 I's. I's like EYE, eyes. English-speaking intelligence agencies. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't it the British intelligence agency that was involved in the spying on Donald Trump? Wasn't it this intelligence agency that fabricated false information and fed it to the FISA court? Why, yes, it was. If you were a FISA judge, a federal judge in the United States of America, and somebody submitted false information in your court, what would you do? That's what I thought. You would say, as soon as you found out it was fabricated and false and that you had been hoodwinked, get the hell back in my court and tell me why you thought it was a good idea to present false information in my court to pull a warrant. And if that reason's not good enough, you are going to jail. Has that happened? No, that hasn't happened. None of the FISA judges has called any of these false perpetrators back into their courtroom and said, why did you submit false information in my court? None, not one, not a single one. Why? Because foreign money has been pouring, has been gushing into our government for quite some time. All of that money that we were just talking about from Khawaja and all these others, all that money influences this exact kind of behavior. This is why it happens, because it's paid for. And if Corbyn wins, one of the 5 I's is going to be poked out. In other words, everything that comes from that government is going to be suspect. And we only have 4 I's left. And we may not even have that, because, as you know, Australia may also have been compromised. So, Ronald Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And it's true. It's like someone asked me one day, well, how long is eternity anyway? And I said, just one more day. It's just one more day. We can actually say it's just one more moment. So nowadays it might be more accurate to rephrase that to never more than one election away. Look at the difference in the awareness in the United States of what's been going on for the last 20 years, 30 years in the United States. Were we aware of any of this when George W. Bush was president? Maybe there were a few conspiracy theorists out there. Were we aware of any of this while Barack Obama was president? Yeah, but we couldn't do anything about it. But we really weren't, were we? We didn't know who these players were. We didn't know how evil they really were until Donald Trump became president and squared off against them and fought back. As soon as he fought back, they had to set down their masks and they had to pick up their battle axe and they had to come out in the street and fight. And we got to see them for who they really are. One election makes a huge difference. There are more people now working in the United States of America than have ever worked before, and you ain't seen nothing yet. You have seen nothing yet. There are factories that are begging for people. It's not that there aren't enough people to work. It's that there aren't enough people with the skills to work. No, they're not going to order in skilled people. They're going to train the people that are already there. It's already happening. There are colleges and schools and tech schools springing up everywhere. There are webinars, thousands of them to choose from, that will teach you, train you, give you the skills that you need to get these jobs and prosper at them and make a lot more money at it. It's all happening. One election makes a huge difference. President Obama famously said that the future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. What does that have to do with anything? During President Obama's 8-year tenure, he developed close ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, an organization that's been founded since, I believe, 1928. It has been labeled as the mother of all terrorist groups. He actively facilitated the Muslim Brotherhood takeover of Egypt under Mohammed Morsi. I was there. It was not a pretty thing. Meanwhile, the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton worked closely with the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, that's known as the OIC, on plans to criminalize criticism of Islam. She assassinated Muammar Gaddafi. She took all of his weapons, rockets, and grenades, put them on ships, moved them to Syria, tried to unseat Bashar al-Assad with an army that she created, her and Barack Obama, called ISIS. That has recently been crushed as an army. It still exists as a terrorist organization. We still have to fear it. It's still active, even inside the United States. No matter. When 5 members of Congress asked for an investigation of Ms. Huma Abedin, they were treated like pariahs. They were treated like, holy cow, you're suffering from Islamophobia. The Obama administration also channeled huge sums of money to Iran's Islamist regime, and we're still fighting against that. Iran right now, today, is having military maneuvers in the ocean with China and Russia. Where would that go? No place good. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. More X Squared Radio coming at you right after this.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, X Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Sharonism Raw with Sharon and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, The Kev Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear on the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Arguing impeachment. Investigating the Saudi gunman. I'm Evan Haining. House Democrats are readying their arguments for President Trump's impeachment ahead of tomorrow's hearing. On NBC's Meet the Press, Republican Senator Ted Cruz blasted Democrats.
House Democrats put out a 55-page report. They called it a scholarly report that purports to say you don't have to prove a crime. You don't have to prove a law was violated to impeach a president. Garbage.
But Democrats say the report outlines the historical context of impeachment and explains why the framers put it in the Constitution. Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal.
Not Nixon, not Clinton. Nobody in the history of the United States has engaged in this level of obstruction of Congress.
Friday's deadly shooting at Pensacola Naval Air Station is not officially being called an act of terrorism yet. But the FBI says it's investigating as though it might be a terror attack. The FBI says the Saudi military student who killed 3 Americans acted alone. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham told Fox News Sunday Futures he wants to pull the plug on the program until more facts come to light.
We need to suspend the Saudi program until we find out what happened here. I like the idea of training foreign pilots, understanding how the American system works. I like allies. Saudi Arabia is an ally, but there's something really bad here.
For more than a week, North Korea has been promising it will send the U.S. a Christmas gift. Correspondent Will Ripley reports on Saturday, Pyongyang said it conducted a very important test at its long-range missile site.
The last time North Korea promised to send the U.S. a gift, they launched an intercontinental ballistic missile. That was back in 2017.
President Trump is warning dictator Kim Jong-un could void his special relationship if he acts in a hostile way.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
By the way, thanks so much for the many great comments in the YouTube chat room. It was funny. Somebody said, let's see. Oh, it was Alan. Would like to see if I would take a camera to my bookshelf behind me here to give a tour of the books on my shelf. So I thought I would respond to that a little bit. I just picked a few of them. Let's see. There's this one. Let's see. Consciousness and the Universe. This is a really good book. It's light reading. I like a couple chapters in here. First one I really like is self-consciousness. Yeah. See that? Self-consciousness, disassociated shared near-death consciousness. And if you go in here, there's actually an abstract which is done by Dossie Grayson, Sturck, and Tucker. It's pretty well done, and it's on consciousness. What is it? You see this? So this is physics. This is an astrophysics textbook, and the abstract is pretty good because it talks about, I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but as I recall, it talks about out-of-body experiences, past life memories, the apparent linked consciousness of twins, and healing at a distance. Yeah, you wouldn't expect to find this in, $150 textbook, but there it is. And I also have one of my old friends, Michael Cremo, wrote this book. It is required reading if you're going to be a member of this audience. Human De-Evolution. Okay, this is a great book. It talks about the idea that man was a created race on this planet, and that other humanoid races, namely apes and others, actually devolved from human instead of humans evolving from them. And I'm a mathematician, so this is one of my textbooks here called Finite Mathematics. This is a pretty good textbook. I couldn't find the algebra book that I taught in college, but that's a good book too. And it's one of my favorites. It's a little heavy. Hang on a second here. Take some real guns to pick this up. Of course, the giant hardback issue of The Art of War. This is really a good book. Highly recommend it. We have done some reading from this actual book on this program. So there you go. I highly recommend, however, if you don't want to buy those $200 books, that you choose from the books that are there rotating on YouTube. They make great gifts. The Birth Trilogy. People call it the Birth Journey. It's 1,100 pages, and the first book is an absolute white-knuckle ride. It is a big screen movie. It's a big screen movie in the covers, and I promise you'll enjoy it. And if you give it away as a gift, either in paperback or in Kindle or in Nook, I will read it to your friends for free. Yes, that's right. All of the books are in audio, and right inside the book, inside the cover, is an email address they can write to me, and I will freely send them the link to the audiobook, and I will read the book for them. So if they're hearing impaired or if they are not a great reader, have no worries. I will read the book to them for free. Makes an awesome Christmas gift. Okay, let's talk a little bit about homeless people. One California city is apparently warming to the idea of pushing homeless people into a shelter where they're not allowed to leave until they demonstrate self-sufficiency. I have maintained on this program, and you're free to call in if you want to at 213-233-3998. I have maintained that the only reason that people are living on the streets homeless long term is for one of two reasons. They either are mentally ill, they have some mental problem that needs treating with drugs, or they have some damage to their psyche somehow through PTSD or something. They are mentally ill, or they choose to live there. Nobody is forcing anyone to live on the streets long term. Now, we all lose our stuff, okay? I'm not saying everybody, but I've lost my home. I lost my farm. I lost all my investments. When the savings and loan industry went under, it sucked me down too. I went from being worth a little over $1 million on paper to being worth minus $30,000 for real life. And I lived in a tent in a KOA with my kids. They didn't know any different. I framed houses that summer, and when I got paid for framing those 3 houses, I saved up enough money to move the family into an apartment before it got cold. And a year later, I'd saved up enough money to put down on a house, and we were back in a home. You get back up and you keep going. You don't stay on the street long term unless you're choosing to be there. However, what they're advocating here, in other words, is, well, jail. Reading Mayor Julie Winter mentioned in her aim for a kind of lockdown homeless shelter in an interview this week with Jefferson Public Radio, a station that broadcasts in Southern Oregon and Northern California. The interview concerned a November 19th letter the city drafted to Governor Gavin Newsom. You know who he is, don't you? Well, if you don't make the effort. But if you do, it was a letter to him in which Winter asked him to declare a state of emergency over homelessness to access funding typically reserved for natural disasters like a flood or a fire or a tornado or an earthquake. And with that funding, the city of nearly 92,000 people could build a shelter that effectively forces people with mental illness or substance abuse order indoors, according to Jefferson City Public Radio. Jefferson Public Radio. Reading has seen an increase in homeless camps, despite repeatedly sweeping the camps and making arrests. This might be a low security facility, but it's not a facility you could just leave because you wanted to. In other words, it's an internment camp. You need to get clean. You need to get sober. You need to demonstrate self-sufficiency. And once you do that, you're free to go. A shelter like that would almost certainly face swift and aggressive legal challenges from civil liberties organizations. There are a lot of reasons why this kind of approach is not likely legal, said Eric Tars, legal director at the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, who noted it could run afoul of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I would call it an internment camp or a concentration camp. If it's not a jail, then what else could it possibly be? Yes, I could see that. It's quite a bit different than the ones along the border, because the ones along the border, they come across the border They're worn out from walking for 2,000 miles. They've only have the clothes on their back. They have no money. They're in debt to the cartels. They haven't eaten. They've been sexually assaulted or beaten or otherwise traumatized. They give them a shower. They feed them. They give them clean clothes. And then they begin the processing of their paperwork. Now, they're free to go anytime they want to go. They can get on the bus and they can leave anytime. It is not a concentration camp. They're not being held there against their will. People in the camps along the border are there because they want to be there. And anytime they want to leave, they can go outside, get on the bus, and go right back across that border into Mexico. No problem. They are not being held there. But if they want to stay inside the United States, and most of them do because they've paid a lot of price to get there, then they go through the process and they stay in the camp until they are processed and they're, allowed to, are given their adjudication. Winter did not immediately respond to a Vice News request for comment or anyone else's request for comment. California is nearly 130,000 homeless people. And by the way, that was like last year's number. It's probably close to 500,000 now. It represents a quarter of the entire country's homeless population, and the state's homeless people are largely unsheltered and sleeping on the streets. Weather's not too bad, especially in Southern California. Also, that makes the problem visible enough that Donald Trump and members of his administration have bashed it multiple times. We have too. I am from California. The California I came from would never, ever put up with this. No way would they allow people to set up tent cities in Orange County. But that's exactly what's there. That's exactly what's there. The county alleged in its letter that homeless people are refusing resources, part of the reason why it wants to force people into shelters and negatively impacting the environment. Our tax-paying citizens were angry and overwhelmed, and they feel helpless. As the mayor, I feel similarly, Winter wrote. The city has mental health services, a mobile mental health services unit, a shelter, substance abuse programs available that are underutilized or remain empty despite vigorous outreach. I told you, the people on the streets want to be there. They're there by choice. Yes, it is demonic, to be honest with you, he said of the forced shelter idea. This is Chris Solberg, a homeless advocate in Redding, California, disputed the idea that the city's homeless problem could be fixed with forced mental health or addiction treatment services. Well, it would be, sorry to say, Mr. Solberg, it would be for the neighborhoods. It wouldn't be so much for the homeless people themselves. But you have to give them a less popular option so that they will choose life instead of choosing to live on the streets, addicted, diseased, abused, sexually, economically, emotionally. They're caving in on themselves. The more time they spend on that sidewalk or that alleyway or that under the bridge environment, the more unlikely it is that they will withdraw from that and become a functional member of society again. I'm sorry to say, that's just the way it is. It seems like what they're doing is saying that if we can't put people into jails that we call jails, we're going to call the jails something else. Yes, it's true, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit here. This is a good segue into this segment. Because when society reaches a point where we have a population density, issues that always exist in societies become exacerbated. They become more apparent. They're always there, but they're hidden behind the mainstream. They're hidden behind the current of communities. And one of those things is a term, it might be a little esoteric, but it is a term nonetheless that can be quantified, and that is the term evil. Now, many people like to believe that they're a good judge of character, but sadly, that is not always the case. In fact, it's rarely the case. You know how they talk about first impressions. I never go by first impressions, ever. And I really have a low esteem attributed to people who do, because you cannot assess a complex personality which responds to toxins or stress or assault or scarcity in very complex ways with a first impression. You just cannot assess a person like that. There's nothing worse than finding out that someone you thought you could trust is apparently nothing like what you believe them to be. However, don't fault yourself for not knowing, because not only do you not have the skill to correctly look at and quantify these traits, but they are probably very skilled in deception and manipulation. They're in schools, in the workplace, in churches. They're everywhere. Every factory, every community has them. And they could be among your friends or your colleagues. So how do you know if someone you're dealing with is really evil? Well, I'm going to give you 18 characteristics. I'll try to go through them quickly. One is called passive aggressive. I put this one first and highest because it is the most insidious. Being insulted by someone who is passive aggressive can at times be tricky to figure out, because the insults are probably hurled before you can even figure out what they're meant to be for you. A passive aggressive person may not address you directly, but sooner or later you're going to find out about this. And don't feel alone in this, okay? Passive aggressive people are negative and indirectly hostile. We sometimes call these people fair weather friends because they are friendly to your face. And they easily engage in conversations. They laugh, and they even sound like they are interested in hearing what you have to say. But as soon as you're out of their sight, they begin their subversion. They criticize you to others. Now, don't get me wrong, they'll say, I like the person, but... And then they proceed to tell something about you that is not good. You're fat. You're slow. You're lazy. You make too many mistakes. You are critical of the boss. This is passive to your face and then aggressive towards you when you're not around. In a plant or office, I can tell you from long experience in the corporate world, these are the most dangerous people in any organization. They often do climb up to top management. They effectively nuke everyone who stands in their way and eventually destroy the company. A good leader can spot these individuals and either coach them to stop this kind of behavior by bringing it to the forefront or remove them from his workplace as quickly as possible. They are often beautiful, they're handsome, they're smart, they're very good at their jobs, which makes it painful to remove them, but it must be done, for misery follows wherever these people exist. The second evil characteristic: manipulative. Now, manipulators will persuade, they will lie, they will do anything they can just to get what they want, and they won't have any feelings of remorse, not even a little bit. Evil manipulators will take advantage of other people's emotional sensitivity and sympathy. They will abuse your kindness and helpfulness, your contributions, and they will reel you in to help them get what they want. There are only two defenses, since these people are almost always the boss or the spouse. Not so easy to just dump them and move out. It's not that easy. Jobs are not that easy to come by, especially if you are quiet, and a good spouse is as rare as tanzanite. They are always attached to someone, or they are so damaged that they have been ruined by another manipulator. So, here are the two ways you can protect yourself. The first is time travel. Not what it sounds like. Not what it sounds like. Listen me out. Hear me out. Manipulators are only effective in the moment. You remember the necromancer in the Riddick Chronicles? He would phase shift from one place to another a few feet away, making him impossible to fight. He was, however, only effective in the moment, he was corporal. That's where he could punch you. That's where he could hurt you. Riddick just anticipated where he was going to be and thrust his blade into that place to kill the necromancer. And that is what you have to do with the manipulator. I don't mean kill them. I mean, when you can see what they are trying to do, you can anticipate it, and you can hand them the document they think they have caught you without. You will feel their blade miss you every time if you do this. The other defense is to expose a weakness in them quickly. Say to them quickly what everyone else wishes they could say. Do it privately. Don't do it publicly. Do it calmly and succinctly. In other words, chew them out with grace. More than likely, they will cower at your brilliance, and you will most likely get fired, especially if it's your boss. Don't worry. Don't worry, because you're going to feel fresh, pure oxygen flowing to your brain as soon as you walk out of the building. These are the only two defenses against this kind of activity. Oh, what happens when two manipulators coexist together? That's a good question. We call that marriage. All right, evil people are always right. Evil people will always believe they are right no matter whom they are talking to or what they are talking about. The good is not about winning or losing an argument. It is about arguing. If you find yourself dealing with someone like this, don't even bother arguing, because they won't let you win, ever. They are inflexible, and they're not willing to compromise their beliefs for the sake of friendship or to maintain a diplomatic professional relationship. They're not diplomatic. They're not tactful. And they would stubbornly insist on what they want until you agree with them. If you keep someone like this close to you, look around. You won't see anybody. You know why? Because they have driven everyone away. And that's exactly where you should be, away, once you have your escape set up. You can come back from time to time, but as soon as you feel yourself being drawn into an argument, walk away. Within a very short amount of time, they will either become self-absorbed or they will apologize, and the retraining has begun. If you are successful, you can stay with this person. If you are not, you should seek greener grass. The next one is, evil people are mean to animals. Animal cruelty is a telltale sign that someone might actually be incredibly violent. If they're mean to animals, eventually they will be mean to people. It's best just to end the friendship then and there. The next one is they take joy in other people's failures. As horrible as it sounds, malicious people enjoy other people's misfortunes. Not only do they actually like it when others fail, but they actually hope that it won't be the last time. This does not count when watching football. But be observant for curses like, "I hope you break your leg," or "kill that guy." Worse yet, evil people will add fuel to the fire and try to make the situation worse in any way they can. They see other people as rivals or competition, threatening their own success. So they will find ways to sabotage other people's performance and to set them up for failure. A cop who follows a person for a long distance closely, watching for any mistake, is evil. They will undermine other people by highlighting their mistakes, demeaning their achievements, directly challenging them, and putting them on the spot during meetings, or crack a joke at their expense. If you know someone like this, keep your distance unless you want to find yourself in the center of the fumes. And the next is their pathological liars. Now, this is a very rare trait, believe it or not. Truly evil people use, not lies, they use truth as their main weapon. They use it with the left hand and with an agenda. A pathological liar cannot tell the truth. They would say there's sugar in the salt shaker. They simply cannot tell the truth. So let me focus on the evil liar. Using facts as weapons in lies is remarkably difficult to do, but evil has a way of doing it in a way that will make even an angel pick up a sword. The magic is in the word why. We all know what and how and where and when. They're easy enough to document very precisely, but it's quite another thing to document why. The evil person will use facts to make themselves powerful. Simple enough. But remember this. It's not enough for them to win. All others must lose. So they gather facts, all kinds of facts, and then they use these facts to develop a why. If they want to get rid of you, the Human Resources Department will gather facts on you. You're tardy. You sleep at your desk. You answer personal email on the job. You complimented one of the office girls. You have a bad attitude. You forgot to put your safety glasses on or wear your earplugs. You got a speeding ticket or were caught drinking. All facts. All can be used to build a file on you. And when the time is right, they will fire you, and you will never see a dime of unemployment benefits. This is the evil, pathological liar. And we're going to take a quick break here. I've got about 5 more. I know you want to hear them because you probably know people like this. And once you know, you have knowledge, you're empowered, you can protect yourself. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go away. More X Squared Radio coming at you right here in the America Free Radio studio.
Reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hey folks, guess what the #1 phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
Jacob Frank Leibovich is the mastermind behind a global network of satanic cults. He taught that the creator God was evil. Jacob Frank proclaimed himself as the true Messiah. he vowed never to tell the truth. He rejected every moral law and declared that the only way to a new society was through the total destruction of civilization. Murder, rape, incest, and the drinking of blood were perfectly acceptable actions and rituals. His followers established the Marxist system and have infiltrated Islam and Judaism. He was the Messiah of the Illuminati.
EnigmaTV.com.
We are TFR.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, welcome back to X Squared Radio Halfway Point tonight here at the America Free Radio studio. Quick commercial for WowieTel. If you do international calling, you're in business, you call people in foreign countries from the United States. Sometimes if you want to do it cheaply, of course, you can get with the W app or the T app or the S app or the P app. And you can, get them to get the same app and then you can talk back and forth for free. But in business, that's kind of cheap, It's seen as amateur. If you really want to call any number, anytime, anywhere in the world with satellite clarity, then you need a WowieTel. WowieTel is added to your cell phone, and then when you want to make an international call, you just go to WowieTel, open the app, put in the phone number anywhere, landline or cell phone, and call it. They don't have to have the app, and none of their metadata is stored. So they get a call from you just like you're sitting in your office, which might be your pickup truck like me, and you can talk with satellite clarity with none of the garbled mess that you get with voice over IP. This is direct satellite telephone technology. Do it, WowieTel. Just so that we keep our truth freak flag flying all the way to the top, I made the comment earlier looking over at my top chat and said that one of our listeners had given me $20. It wasn't. It was $2, just for full disclosure. But that's okay. I've already cleared it with the person. No big deal. We're just trying to make sure everything's on the up and up here at the America Free Radio studio. Not saying I wouldn't accept a $20 donation in the top chat in YouTube, and you can certainly do that. But let's get back to our characteristics, our 18 characteristics of evil people. Because, we're getting ready to start a new year, and I want you to start it fresh. I want you to start it on the run, and I want you to start it with the whole armor with you. The other is that evil people never say they're sorry. Black-hearted people never say they're sorry, even if they know that they were at fault. Evil people are also self-absorbed. Now, if you find that you have one friend and won't talk about anyone else but themselves, then chances are that's not a good person. Everyone else except for them is weak or crazy or when compared to them. These are classic narcissists, so avoid them if you can, or only trust them so far. The other is they don't value anyone else's time but their own. Now, you got to pay close attention here because this can be fixed if it's brought to the person's attention. But people with bad intentions, they don't care about anybody else but them. And that goes for other people's time as well. In their minds, their time is valuable and everyone else's is just a second thought. They have a deep-rooted belief that they have priority and should always come first. They don't have any empathy. They don't negotiate or compromise regardless of other people's struggles. They only look out for themselves. They have no problem stepping on others to get what they want in life. They are never on time, and they often make people wait for hours for them to arrive and would be furious if you left without them. Controllers, of course, we see these people all the time. Evil people need to be in control of all situations. One thing you have to be aware of is that these people are political cage fighters, okay? It doesn't mean they have to be on top. It means that they often will allow you to knock them to the floor because they fight best on their backs. They don't obey the rules. If you sue them, they will post the lawsuit on their website to show the world how you are victimizing them. Sound familiar? They have no concept of boundaries, and they are relentless in pursuing what they want. They get overly upset when someone disagrees with them, and they won't stop until they've convinced or forced everyone to follow what they say. Sounds like the Democrats, doesn't it? Their need to be right almost always places them in the position of manager, boss, or owner of a business. So be careful of this one, the controller. Evil people enjoy being mean. Now, there's no other way to say it than this, okay? I interviewed a criminal psychologist a few times. I was asking questions about the prison system, actually. I wanted to know why he thought incarceration was a good way to deal with bad people. I mean, does it make him a better criminal? What's being done to rehabilitate them in prison? What he told me actually stuck with me for life. This was about 18 years ago. He said the people in prison for violent crimes are there to protect society from them. When a person hits another person in the nose and the blood flows immediately from their screams, the person doing the striking actually gets aroused. That is to say, they get an erection. Females get a rush of hormones not unlike a massive orgasm. And from this, Earth Explorers, there is no rehabilitation. From this is pure evil, and it will keep reoffending until someone or multiple people end up dead. They are mean because it gives them joy to be mean. Avoid these people at all costs, people that enjoy being mean. Also, evil people blame everyone except themselves. They do this, of course, to avoid accepting responsibility, but they do it for other reasons. Just because somebody, doesn't want to accept responsibility doesn't make them evil. Evil people make the fact that they did their offense because of you. Okay? In other words, look at the people with Trump derangement syndrome. They burn cars, they beat the elderly, they burn buildings and loot because Trump is president. These are people who defraud banks, nonprofits, and the public because of something that has nothing to do with them, but for which they can blame all their anger. Colin Kaepernick blaming his extortion of funds from the NFL or Nike started out as police brutality, and then it was Trump, and then it was the American flag, and now it's just white people in general. Always blaming someone else for their evil behavior. It is the core building block of the victim party, now the most powerful political force in the world today. Evil people are entitled. More often than not, evil people feel extremely entitled for one reason or another. In ancient times, it was the genealogy of the fathers that made them entitled. In modern times, it is the relation to a politician, a banker, a celebrity, or a CEO that makes them entitled. Parents often bribe colleges to get their child into that university so they can either get a degree or find a spouse with a degree from that school. I look at the case of the 33 parents who had trafficked their poorly performing kids to faculty of certain schools along with bribery money to make sure they got admitted. Look at the Lori Loughlin. She trafficked her own 16-year-old daughter during the summers to spend time on the rowing coach's private yacht. I wonder how that went. And she spent $500,000 so that they could leverage their daughter into USC. And they got caught. And there are dozens more also being prosecuted for this. Look at Elizabeth Warren, whose grades were so poor as a student teacher that she had to claim she was a Native American on her applications to gain admission to graduate school. She got the loans, she got admission, and she got preferential grades so the school could claim they were graduating a Native American. And now she's running for president, and she is still not stopped lying. Why? Because she feels entitled to the office. And there's another who feels that way. And I think you know who that is. Evil people have no remorse. Evil people couldn't care less about how the other person feels, as they have zero remorse on what they have done. A sociopath is what we call them. It's a technical term for a person with antisocial personality disorder. They don't have fear. They don't care how other people see them unless it leads to their exposure, preventing them from displaying more antisocial behavior. They typically are CEOs. CEOs are almost always sociopaths. They break rules and they make reckless decisions without feeling guilty if they caused any harm. They don't care about the stock price. They don't care about anything except themselves. They can do the most wicked things and feel no remorse about the consequences of their actions. One can say they don't even have a conscience. And without a conscience, they don't feel bad about any negative behavior or damage they do. Hillary Clinton assassinated the president of Libya and then laughed about his murder on national television. She put her own ambassador in harm's way and watched him die live on TV. And then she sent her national security advisor out to tell the world a lie about what caused it and denied everything, saying, "What difference does it make anyway?" She's in the wings of the Democrat Party even now, waiting for the candidates to stumble and fall or to move too close to the socialist ideology. She will steal the election and have no remorse. They have ulterior motives. Immoral people make sure they do nice things. They do good things. They make donations as long as the cameras are running because they have ulterior motives. They're looking for the easiest way to climb the management ladder. They're always there when planting the trees at the plant. They're always there with the United Way donations. They're always there when it comes to the cameras running or the PTA meetings. They're always there. You'll notice that these people are proactive when the boss is around. But once the boss steps out, they're back to being lazy procrastinators. Another thing, evil people have the wrong enemies. Most of the time, wicked people tend to be overly friendly only to hide the fact that they have tons of enemies. You might even join the pool of enemies when you realize these wicked people are selfish, egotistic, manipulative, and abusive liars. If you know some of their enemies to be good people, you should use caution. God forbids us from judging people. We are, however, allowed to know them by their fruits. You can also know them by their enemies. Jesus had tons of enemies, but they were all the right enemies. And the last couple is they have an expressive hate. Most evil people are full of hatred. You'll find that most of their issues are quite unreasonable and offensive. They hate people of color. They hate Jews. They hate rich people. They hate white people. you'll notice that it is unreasonable and it is not fact-based, but it is highly charged with emotion. All this irrational hatred toward people, actions, and things is a major red flag that you're dealing with an evil and toxic person. Evil people can be unreliable, but the really good ones are reliable. They do follow through. If you buy their influence, they give you what you paid for. All right, I want to talk a little bit about changes that have been made in the SNAP requirements. When I was in college with 4 small children at home, I did receive food stamps. Yes, I did. It was either that or drop out of school. To me, it was part of the student loan program. I stayed in school on the honor roll, and they fed my family. Now, I paid back those food stamps 100 times over with higher income than I received after I graduated. During the Obama administration, the food stamp program known as SNAP became a favorite for buying votes. They actively recruited millions of people to receive food stamps. These were able-bodied people who were signed up and registered to vote at the same time. Grocers, they loved it. These voters were reliable, and they were targeted in certain districts. Many times during the 8 years Obama was president, the ability to create riot on order was tested with glitches in the SNAP system. Within minutes of the cards being switched off, violence would break out. They tried to expand the program to include prepared foods such as McDonald's and Burger King, but the retailers could not be convinced to launch the program. It created a new dependent class of Americans. But the Trump administration had a different idea. A job is far more valuable to the integrity of a person than a free meal. Government can be a powerful force for good, but government dependency has never been the American dream. We need to encourage people by giving them a helping hand, but not allowing it to become an indefinite giving hand. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue stated this Wednesday of this week. Here's what he said, and I quote, "Now, in the midst of the strongest economy in a generation, we need everyone who can work to work. Under the current law, work-eligible adults without dependents under the age of 50 can only get 3 months of benefits over a 3-year period if they don't meet a work requirement of 20 hours per week. The new rule simply cuts back on states' ability to exempt work-eligible people from the work requirements via waivers." Nancy Pelosi said that the finalized rule showcases the Trump administration's complete and devastating disregard for the health and well-being of millions of Americans, which is utter nonsense. The Republicans said there is simply no reason today why, for example, an able-bodied adult male with no health problems and no dependents should not be employed, or at least contributing as a productive volunteer in his community. And that is true. Our public policy in this country should always emphasize the virtue of hard work as a pathway out of poverty, while public assistance programs should be reserved only for those who are truly in need. I do not know if full-time students with families can still get SNAP assistance, but I would assume if you have children at home and you are an able-bodied adult and you are a full-time student, that you would still be able to get food stamps. Let's take a quick check on our clock. Yes, we're doing fine. Keep those comments coming in YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for being out there. Piper's out there. Terry's out there. Matrix Adjustment is out there. Alan is out there. MG's out there. All good comments. Oh, Pantry's out there, too. That's good. The Elite had a VC killed for making the song For a Better Day. Could be. Could be. The Impeachment Show. I can't let tonight go by without talking about the Impeachment Show, because tomorrow the Impeachment Show goes into the next phase. And I don't think that the administration is going to participate in this because it's just like, wrestling with a pig. The Senate confirmed 4 trial court nominees to the federal bench this week while the impeachment show was going on. The Senate was busy at work confirming federal judges. Senators confirmed the nominee Sarah Pitlick to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri, 49-44. And exactly on party lines. Every single one of these votes on party lines. The Democrats are obstructing government. So while that's going on, while the impeachment show is going on, judges are still being confirmed. And this is a big thing because these judges will serve for years and years, decades. And now almost 180 judges have been confirmed. And in the next 4 years, you're probably going to see another 140, 150 judges. And this is a change that's going to affect society, your state, your county for the next 40 years. So this is a really, really good thing. It's something that Barack Obama highly abused by putting radical activist judges in place who summarily wrote law. We have seen over and over again these radical judges standing in the way of the executive branch, judges in Hawaii or Southern California making rulings that well outside their jurisdiction to try to block the president from doing what he is constitutionally authorized to do. Also, we have noticed that the Patriot Act was recently extended by Democrats. Might seem to many Americans that Washington is entirely consumed by the impeachment show and that no other important business is getting done on Capitol Hill. But Tuesday of this week, in a break from televised hearings, the House of Representatives voted to fund the government through December 20th. If passed by the Senate, the continuing resolution, I thought we weren't going to do those anymore. Didn't you think we weren't going to do those anymore, these CRs? It would prevent a government shutdown. That's all well and good, except the Democrat leaders had slipped something else into the bill, the continuing resolution, so the government can continue to breathe. Yeah, they slipped something else in there, a little something, just a little Easter egg, a little Christmas gift. And it was a 3-month extension of the Patriot Act, the post-9/11 law that gave the federal government sweeping surveillance and search powers and circumvented traditional law enforcement rules. Key provisions of the Patriot Act were set to expire December 15th, which is a few days from now, including Section 215, the legal underpinning of the call detail records program exposed in the very first Edward Snowden leak. In other words, they can still listen on your calls, and they can still publish Nunez's metadata information in a public hearing. By tucking this measure into a must-pass bill, evil House Speaker Nancy Pelosi forced many members who oppose the Patriot Act to vote in favor of the Patriot Act. And that is pure evil. Representative Bobby Rush of Illinois told The Hill, "We must focus on the bigger picture here." In late October, Rush signed a letter co-authored by Representative Rashida Tlaib and Earl Blumenauer, which read, "We will not support any legislation that extends Section 215's sunset date if it fails to contain robust reforms that protect innocent people from unjust surveillance." Well, too bad it passed, and now it's in there. Pretty good section on that, so I'm going to pass through that because I want to get to other things. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the impeachment show. Season 4. We're in Season 4 now. In February of 2016, by the way, that's 3 months before Republicans had actually selected a nominee. We did not know who the nominee was going to be. The deep state, operating under the direction of Barack Obama, placed CIA spies into the Trump, Cruz, and Kasich campaigns. That's a fact. Season 1 of the impeachment show was well underway. Those spies were not only gathering information through illegal means, they were planting information as well. Through their manipulation of staffers, lawyers, and department heads and potential cabinet choices, they were able to cripple these three campaigns. Trump managed to get the nomination on May 26, 2016. The other spies slipped away in the mass layoffs, but the ones inside the Trump team stayed, and they laid the groundwork for an insurance plan. The global syndicate does not leave much to chance, I will say that. They didn't trust Trump because he could not be bought. Trump was not playing along. In fact, he went immediately to the public and told them the moment he discovered that he was being spied upon by the deep state. They did not trust the voters, and they weren't sure Hillary had the right strategy, even though the more she appeared publicly, the worse she did on the polls. And then season 2 began with the creation of the Russian collusion. It rolled right through the inauguration, and a few months later resulted in the firing of Sal Yates, James Comey, and others at the very highest levels of the FBI because they were openly and brazenly trying to overthrow the election. It also included the compromising of the FISA warrant process by feeding fabrications to the judges in order to pull warrants to cover tracks. Of the actual spying that was going on, okay? Everything was done for a reason here. They assassinated all the Russian assets, killed them, including Kislyak. They attacked Michael Flynn to make sure he could not report anything to Trump. Rather than the judges calling back the fraudsters to face contempt charges, the judges went silent, all of them. And then season 3 began with the Mueller investigation. Well, they used his name, but he really didn't do anything. It was a script writing process that the news actors read every day for a year. It went nowhere. The entire season was a flop, and Mueller forgot all his lines at the hearing. No Oscar for that one. As this was going on, due to the poor ratings, the deep state tried to stall the economy and cause another depression like they were able to do in 1928. It didn't work. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. More X Squared Radio coming at you.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like The Christopher Everard Show, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes, Freaky Friday with The Woo Crew, The Gematria Effect with Zachary Hubbard, America's Evil Genius with Travis Cook, Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Quantum Connections with Lucky, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Preparing for impeachment vote. Pensacola killings. I'm Evan Haining. The House Judiciary Committee will continue its impeachment inquiry into President Trump tomorrow. Republican Matt Gaetz, who is on the committee, tells ABC's This Week that the move to impeach is entirely partisan.
This impeachment is exclusively supported by Democrats in Congress. It's not just that Democrats can't persuade people like me who support the president. They can't even persuade Republicans like Will Hurd, who are critics of the president, to support this impeachment.
On CBS's Face the Nation, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff said the president continues to seek foreign help in the 2020 election.
Out on the White House lawn, still saying he wants Ukraine to help him in the next election with these sham investigations, inviting other countries like China to do the same thing. Rudy Giuliani, even this week, is in Ukraine furthering this plot. And so this is an ongoing, clear and present danger to the integrity of our elections and our own national security.
What's in a word? Well, for the FBI, the answer is a lot. Correspondent Bryn Gingras explains why the FBI is treating the Pensacola Naval Air Station shooting as terrorism without yet pronouncing it an act of terror.
Was there some sort of ideology that influenced him to carry out this attack? And they don't have that answer just yet. And that's why we're understanding they're not calling this a terrorist attack, because they don't have that motive. But they said they're certainly conducting this investigation with the presumption of an act of terrorism, which allows them to really open up some more investigative tools.
The bodies of the victims killed by the Saudi military student have been transferred to the military mortuary at Dover, Delaware. The Democrats' campaign for the presidential nomination continues. Senator Cory Booker is slamming his party's debate rules, saying they allow elites and money to control who gets on stage. And Booker urged voters to offer his name when pollsters call. I'm Evan Haining.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Lots of good information going on in the chat room during the break. As you can see, the impeachment show is the hottest news out there tonight. But you're going to get a little bit different take on this. I was talking with Alex Marlowe Friday on Breitbart Radio, on the national radio on Patriot 125. And we were discussing the idea that we're not really dealing with a new world order here. No, in fact, we're dealing with a very old world order. This is the way Earth was managed for a long, long time. And I'd say for about 5,000 years. Let's see if I can get rid of this hiss on Skype. Let me try that. There we go. Let's see if that works. I think I'm still getting an open line from the studio, but we'll try to talk over it a little bit here. The world was ruled by the same, man for 5,000 years. I don't mean a 5,000-year-old man, but I mean a monarchy ran everything with his wooden ships. And we were talking about how from the global syndicate, they receive a unified message, an old message. It's the same message that's been very Pharisaic, that is to say, from the Pharisees of old, that has been shoved out there in crowds all over. They sprinkle these words in, like monarchy, like king, like existential. And these words float throughout the news. And it's used not only by the news actors, it's also used by the politicians, and it's used by the judges, and it's used by the legal scholars who were in the impeachment show last week. And what it's designed to do is to create a psychic wave. It's designed to create a psychic resonance in the general populace, which is you. Every time you hear the word Trump, you also hear the word king. Every time you hear the word Trump administration, you hear the word monarchy. You hear above the law. You hear these words over and over again. It's designed to create a resonance in you so that when these impeachment hearings begin in earnest and they begin to make real world decisions that affect the rest of your life and the rest of your grandkids' lives, you will go along with it because you've already been sprinkled with this kind of resonant idea. And I told him that I did not really fear a landslide in 2020 when this impeachment goes through. And I really believe that unless it's stopped, it will go through just the way that it's being voted down, straight down party lines in the Senate and in the House. In the Senate, the federal judges are being approved, straight down party lines. In the House, the impeachment is being approved, straight down party lines. It is absolute political suicide. It's political suicide because in 2020, they're going to be wiped out. They're going to have a landslide. And I thought to myself, why would they sacrifice a party like that? And then I realized that the party isn't in charge. The Democrat Party, the DNC, established in 1848 by the Anti-Federalists, is just an arm of the global syndicate. It's just a political arm of the global syndicate. And they don't care about the Democrats. The only thing they care about is the Democrat Party. No matter whatsoever that these 34 Democrats are going to lose their election in November. It doesn't matter. Why? Because they're not that loyal. If those 34 Democrats decide to vote against impeachment and the impeachment fails, they will be destroyed. Their funding will be cut off. They'll be primaried. They'll be run out of office. If they decide to vote for impeachment, then they're going to lose their election to Republicans because these are strong Trump states. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Either way, those Democrats are going to be sacrificed. And so their leadership is saying, you stay loyal. You stay loyal. And you're going to be able to retire with money, and we'll see you again. You turn on us, and you'll be destroyed, and your families will be destroyed, just like the signers of the Declaration of Independence. So we kind of covered season 3. No Oscar for that one. It was a total flop. As this was going on, due to the poor ratings, the deep state tried to stall the economy, cause another depression. It didn't work. The economy roared on. We're getting ready to start the roaring 20s. 266,000 jobs were announced on Friday. Absolutely blowing the left away. They had no clue that free enterprise and unregulated society would be so successful. It is great. Having that many people working means that many paychecks are going in the bank. Those paychecks going into bank create cash flow. Cash flow creates commerce. Everything is going exactly as planned. But make no mistake, in a few hours from now, season 4 begins of the Impeachment Show. It begins with an effort to twist a phone call to the Ukrainian President Zelensky into a quid pro quo. Well, that didn't pull so well, so let's try bribery. Well, you know what? Bribery is kind of hard to prove because, Trump actually bribed that guy instead of that guy bribing Trump. So it doesn't really work. I mean, the whole reason bribery was in the original Constitution in the first place is because the French king tried to bribe American politicians with a lot of money. That's not what happened here. I mean, well, it did during the Democrats. When the Democrats were in there, they were running billions of dollars of taxpayer money back around the train to come back to the station and straight into the DNC. That kind of bribery, but we haven't even got into that yet. Not even begun to get into that yet. So bribery didn't pull that well, so now they've changed it to treason. Yes, I know you haven't heard this yet, but it's hot on the news right now, and it will be in the morning at 6 o'clock when Breitbart Radio starts on Patriot 95, 125. You're going to see this word treason. Well, see, that's what happens in rehearsal. You have to understand that these people are rehearsing. They have these closed-door rehearsals, and they have directors, and they have planners, and they have people. No. I don't like the look on your face. Try that line again. No. Look, Nadlis, don't slouch. Pull your belt down just a little bit. You look silly up there. You see, all this rehearsal's going on. The lighting, the right suit, the right tie, the right color of hair. All this is being planned because it's a show. It's season 4. This is the grand finale. And now, so it's not quid quo pro, which, by the way, is probably not illegal, especially when you're dealing with foreign leaders. Look, dude, we're getting ready to send you about $250 million, and I'd kind of like you to be able to do this for us. Yeah, that's called quid quo pro, and it's a good thing. I get a little miffed, and so do you, that we hand out all this money all over the world, and we don't ask for anything in return. Nothing. So it's about time we rooted out some corruption and said, you know what? We want these cases brought to fruition here. We cannot let this keep going and going and going. But it changed. They changed it to bribery, and now it's treason. So it didn't look too good when the people realized that billions of dollars were being laundered through Joe Biden's son from both China and Ukraine. It just doesn't look good. Okay, so season 4, that's going to be written out of the script. Okay, season 4 is wrapping up with a straight party impeachment vote, forced by 20 radical Democrats who have enough dirt to restore the entire Yankee Stadium. They got it, baby. On Friday's broadcast of CNN's New Day, House Majority Whip James Clyburn, he's a Democrat, he's from South Carolina, he stated that he expects to lose some Democrats on an impeachment vote. Yeah, we're going to lose a few. A co-host, John Brennan, yeah, you remember him, don't you? Yeah, former CIA director, John Brennan. Yeah, the guy that had his security clearance revoked and then had it mysteriously given back. That guy that's a co-host on CNN. He said, how many Democrats do you expect to lose on the impeachment vote? Like, wait a minute. What do you mean lose? You mean like commit suicide? You mean like commit political suicide or vote no against impeachment? Ooh, that would be a big shakeup, right? Bipartisan opposition to impeachment. That would not be good. That would not be good at all. That's a line that could play. Well, Clyburn said, well, we do expect to lose some, and that's why I say it is a conscience vote. And it's with their constituents. We have a very diverse caucus. I share 6 counties with the Democrat in South Carolina. I share the part of those counties that is much different from the part that Cunningham has. And we may be, voting differently. I have no idea. And they don't care. You know why? Because their goal is to impeach Trump. Once he is impeached, and this is season 4, I'm giving you the spoiler right here. I'm giving it to you right here on America Free Radio. Right, this is it. The entire trillion-dollar press empire will turn on a full ad campaign for a constitutional crisis. Yeah, you think it's a constitutional crisis if Trump is not impeached. That's what the Democrats are saying. But it's actually a constitutional crisis if he is impeached. And here's why. Never before in history has an impeached president actually been on the ballot. Yeah, they will press the states through this multi-trillion-dollar conglomerate called the press to remove Trump's name from the ballot. They will press the Senate to remove him or else lose their elections. Now, I've asked this question before. Do you think 70% of the Senate is compromised? Yes, I think so. Long story short, 70% of the Senate owes something to someone who wants this impeachment. Definitely. And so once they vote to go to a secret ballot, they're going to remove Donald Trump from office. And so the question is, will this result in a landslide election, or will this result in a revolution? Well, according to Moody's Analytics, and this is pretty accurate, Trump is headed toward another 4 years in the White House, and if the numbers are right, it ain't even going to be close. In fact, his Electoral College victory could very well be wider than the 304 to 227 margin he enjoyed over Democrat rival Hillary Clinton in 2016, which, by the way, he may be facing her again, because I also made the statement to Alex Marlow that there will be no Democrat nominee. Sorry to say, Warren. Sorry to say, Booker. Little Peter Buttcrack. It ain't going to happen. You're not getting the nomination. This is going to go to a brokered convention. And when it does, the savior, all dressed in white, with her fresh baby blood transfusion, is going to walk on stage and say, you guys are a bunch of socialists, and America will never be a socialist party or a socialist government. I will step in and save you all. And the place will go wild. And all the superdelegates will open their manila envelopes taped under their seats, notice a big fat wad of cash, and they'll say, hell yeah, let's do it again. Hillary can win again. Yeah, it's going to be Hillary and Trump again. Since 1980, Moody's has managed to nail the outcome of every single time but once. Like many, except me, they didn't see Trump coming. Yes, that's right. Right here at America Free Radio, we predicted almost to the electoral vote that Trump would win. We had it at 311. He won 304. I was off by 7 electoral votes because I missed one state, New Mexico. I'm just telling you, I had it. How did I do that? Because I didn't poll people who had landlines. I polled people who had smartphones. Because this right here is how people get their news. In 2012, it was satellite TV. In 2012, it was cable. It was CNN, it was MSNBC, it was the main channels where people got their news. In 4 years, 85% of households don't have landlines anymore. They only have cell phones. And of the cell phone owners, 78% of them were voting for Donald Trump. 78 times 85 equals 311 electoral votes. That's how close I got. And I called the states, all except one. So, in our post-mortem of the 2016 presidential election, the Moody's report said, we determined that unexpected turnout patterns were one of the factors that contributed to the model's first incorrect election prediction. Well, you think Moody's is right this time? The team takes into account how consumers feel about their finances, the performance of the stock market, their job prospects. Especially today, they're feeling pretty good, don't you think? It's going to be a good Christmas for everybody. Black Friday was set all kinds of records. Under the current Moody's Analytics baseline economic outlook, which does not forecast any recession, the 2020 election looks like Trump's to lose. Democrats can still win if they're able to turn out the vote at record levels, but under normal turnout conditions, the president is projected to win. And they're not going to be able to turn out the vote because a lot of that vote has walked away. They've walked away. They don't like the impeachment show. They especially don't like season 4. The pocketbook measure, which focuses on how people feel about their money situation, is where Trump shines the brightest, grabbing a whopping 351 electoral votes. If voters were to vote primarily on the basis of their pocketbooks, the president would steamroll the competition. The stock market model gives him the slightest edge, 289 over 249, as investors continue to navigate a volatile investing landscape. They're still calling for a major adjustment. You know what, folks? We're in the major adjustment because we were starving for oxygen for 20 years. We were choking to death. And now We've been lifted up above the water, and we're taking as much deep breaths as we can. The market is correcting to what it should have been all along, except the left and their policies was sucking it dry. This is the correction. All right, let's change gears just a little bit. I want to talk about the Chinese search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Yes, good comments, all good comments. Keep it going. I can't keep up with everything here. Yeah, everyone thinks God is 100% merciful, but why would God's wrath exist? That's a good question. Let me just address that before I get to Chinese search for extraterrestrial intelligence. I'm going to give it to you straight. There is no being in the universe out there judging you. There's nobody out there that says you go to heaven and you go to hell, and you go to heaven and you go to hell. That doesn't exist. If there was somebody out there who were able to say, you know what, I know you've been a bad person, but I really like you. You go to heaven. The whole system would collapse. Now, what was done is a system was set up by the Creator. We all agreed to it. And the system is basic energy and mathematics. It cannot be any other way. Truth is truth. The only judge of you is you. And that's it. You judge yourself by your own energy state, and you do it moment by moment. When you hate, you lower that vibration. When you envy, you lower that vibration. When you're jealous, or when you're conniving, or when you cheat, you're lowering that vibration. When you love, when you have charity, when you have mercy, when you have reservation, and you preserve life, you raise that vibration. If you were to cease being immortal in that state, in other words, if you were to die, you would assume the energy level at that moment, at your vibration. Call it a deathbed confession if you want to, but that is the state at which you are. Now, I can tell you from experience, death, simple. It's the easiest thing in the world. When you're dead, you don't feel nothing. You don't regret anything except maybe not finishing. I didn't really have enough time to consider it, but I could just tell you that when you come back to the living, the first thing you realize is that was really easy. That wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're tortured to death, or if you die of a long, prolonged, painful disease, or if you burn or drown, or you put a bullet in your mouth. It doesn't matter how you die. You're not going to remember any of that. You're not going to remember the pain. You're not going to remember the suffering. All that goes away. The only thing that matters is your state of vibration at that moment, because then what happens is your ability to change that state is vastly truncated. You know why? Because when you're in that other phase, when you're in the non-physical phase, time doesn't mean anything. You've gone back to the singularity. Only here, only in the mortal state does time stretch out and slow down, where we can behold moments. This is the only place. This is why mortal life probably is what we designed it to be. It's probably heaven. It's probably the end goal of a spirit, is to become mortal. We fought for it. You know that there was a third of the host of heaven that lost that fight? They lost the fight to be mortal? Or they cheated their way around because Lucifer came here and had a child with Eve, and that child was allowed to live, and that DNA allowed evil spirits to come to this world to be born, so they ended up cheating their way to this world anyway. But the long story is, we earned the right to come here. We deserved it. And each time we incarnate into physical form, into a physical body, we slow time back down so that we can refine our level of vibration. That's what this mortal life is all about. So when you talk about the wrath of God, it ain't the wrath of God. It's the result of the average vibration, the average reality that we create through our cumulative vibration. When the more people choose wickedness, it shifts the average vibration of reality more dark, more negative. And when that happens, everything that resonates with that, hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, meteor showers, every catastrophe that resonates with that is then supported, and it wipes out that community and it starts over again. I can tell you from experience that if we shift the human consciousness, the average human consciousness of society, in the other direction, the bounty of God unloads on us. Everything beautiful and uplifting and healing, everything supporting and peaceful and happy will follow. That's the reward that comes with it. These are the rewards of the good spirit of the heart. It's all science. It's all mathematics. I could tell you more in the live lectures. So sign up. 5.5 hours instead of 3 or 30 minutes I might spend on that subject here on this program. I'm just telling you, that's where it's at. It means that you're in charge of your life condition. Yes. There are things about society choosing wickedness. I mean, look at the Impeachment Show. In an ordinary situation, we would have manifested all of that evil out. We would never have, even if these people did get elected. Look at Nadlis. Went to law school at night, worked for the mob, got elected because his opponent died. But so what? He should have served 2 terms, 2 years and out. But he's been reelected for 10 terms. You understand what I'm saying? The average reality shifted because the more part of the people chose wickedness. We'll take a quick break. Coming back for the final segment. More here at the America Free Radio studio. My name is Brooks Agnew. Don't go away. Hang out, you YouTubers. This final segment's going to be a doozy. We'll be right back after this. Well, here we go.
It's amazing how people have been raving about ILife all over Facebook. They've been posting their testimonials just because they want to get the word out because it's worked so well for them. If you're not familiar with ILife, it's a 99% pure CBD oil, but the secret is the synergy between the hemp and the ayahuasca vine, the non-psychoactive component of the ayahuasca tea. We recently received an email from a wife whose husband has Parkinson's. For the first time, he's been able to sleep through the entire night. Another customer reported that they're no longer using NSAIDs because their tennis elbow has been relieved with ILife. The reports have been phenomenal and much more than we ever expected. Everyone should have access to this. That's why if you head on over to ILife.com right now and use coupon code TFR, we'll give you $5 towards your order. And we'll even ship it worldwide. That's ILife.com, AYA-life.com.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, lime scale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
We exist in the security and comfort of our worlds. Paved paths, lights, and manicured lawns give us peace of mind that our world has been tamed, and we are its master. But other worlds exist on the edge of our sight. On the edge of our awareness, the shadows move. The woods fill with the unblinking eyes of the nightmares our ancestors warned us about. Some of us have stumbled into these forgotten realms, whether on purpose or completely by surprise. I'm Brent Thomas. Join us on the Paranormal Portal Friday and Saturday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight Pacific Standard Time as we journey into the world of the paranormal phenomena.
Enter the paranormal portal if you dare. No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
I've been waiting for this moment since my first breath in. Never would have thought I'd be afraid to begin, but here I am, the edge of the water, wondering if I can swim. Never seem to notice all the days pass through, but in this final moment, I'm still chasing the truth. I want an explanation why I can't stay here forever in my youth. And if I press on, will you wait? Will you wait for me forever? Or would it be wrong to ask you to come with? Tell me, will you wait?
Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. This is X Squared Radio. My name is Brooks Agnew. I'm sitting in the America Free Radio studio somewhere east of the Appalachian Mountains tonight. You've been with me for 2.5 hours. It seems like 2.5 minutes. These Sunday nights go so quickly. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to buy a Christmas gift for your best people. And I think one of the best gifts would be a good book. Even if they're not a good reader, don't worry about it. I read it for you. They get the audiobook for free. I promise you they will thank you because they will change. They'll take the journey. Just go to Amazon, go to Brooks Agnew in Amazon, and you'll find it. Everything is there. The internet, I'll get to the ESETI question on China in just a second, but the internet was triggered this week. I thought it was so good. You really have to see the Peloton wife. You know, the Peloton, you know, the bike that you ride against the virtual people that are, you know, well, they're not virtual, they're real people, but you're like connected through this iPad that's built into the thing. And once you get on the Peloton app, then you can competitively, you know, bike against other really great looking people. And then you don't really, you know, you'll physically change. I did a 6-week speed bike class and to get ready for the Tibet expedition. And boy, am I glad that I did it. When I first started that class, I was sitting on the seat for the whole 40 minutes. But after the 4th week, I was standing up the whole class. But the internet was triggered this week by a Peloton ad that featured a yuppie guy buying this $2,500 exercise bike for his already super hot girl. Okay, she's now known on Twitter as the Peloton wife. And I thought to myself, wow, you know, she was so excited to get it, you know, like she got home early and then she took, you know, selfies of herself riding in it. Hey, I'm on my 4th week and I'm doing so good and everything. And she was so happy. And he was like, You sure this is what you wanted for Christmas? Of course, it really didn't come out like that. It came out like he bought her an exercise bike, and the internet was like, what the hell? You buy your girlfriend or your wife an exercise bike? So this guy, he's an actor, Ryan Reynolds. He comes up with this brilliant idea. He hires the actress that played the Peloton wife, okay? And her real name is Monica Ruiz, and she's really beautiful, and she's a good actress in commercials. And she ended up shooting a commercial for him for Aviation Gin. I don't know what gin that you like, Tanqueray or Hendrix or whatever gin you like out there, but this is Aviation Gin. So you picture the Peloton wife. She's sitting in a trench coat that's open, and she doesn't have makeup on, and her hair is really straight. She doesn't have these like really excellent eyebrows and a beautiful lipstick and everything like she had as a Peloton wife. And she's sitting at a bar, and she's flanked on either side by two of her girlfriends who are, well, they're not as hot. They're not as hot as she is. But they're sitting there with gin martinis, and they're staring at the camera. I mean, straight at the camera. And the girls are there like, look, this is all you. You're great. You're going to be great. I think we can get you another gin if you want it. And she looks at the camera, the Peloton wife, Monica, and she says, this gin is really smooth. And the two women next to her say, yeah, it is. And so one of them picks up there, and they're going to give a toast to new beginnings. So they clink their glasses together, and they take a sip and put their glasses, and the Peloton wife just downs her entire one. And the one next to her slides hers over and says, it's going to be an interesting night. Here, you can have this one. And then it's the most interesting thing. One of the women says, you look really great, by the way. That's playing off the recent outrage over the Peloton commercial in which Grace from Boston documents a year in her life since her male partner gave her the expensive exercise bike. Sort of like her whole life has fallen apart, and now they're drowning it in Aviation Gin that's really smooth. It was classic. You've got to see this commercial. It's just really well done. All right, let me, it was a good commercial for Aviation Gin. He was a smart advertiser. He picked up on the Peloton wife and her crash, after a year. I don't know, she slid into the wall with her Peloton bike. I don't know what the deal was. Probably the boyfriend said, there are hotter girls out there that aren't so obsessed with exercising. I had other things in mind. Anyway, you get it. I could write a whole story on what happened there. China is getting ready to finish its giant alien hunting radio telescope. Yeah, this thing is like 500 meters across. It is really, really an incredible piece of technology. They're in the process of observing signals from celestial bodies. We also collect signals that might be emitted by humans or extraterrestrial civilization. This is Zhu Ming. He's director of the Scientific Observation and Data Division. That's also known as the Deputy Chief Director of Paper Towels at the Fast Operations and Development Center. He says this is a huge amount of work since most of the signals we see, 99% of them, are various noises. So we need to take our time to identify the signals we want in the noises. The FAST team recently organized a user training session, and I think they're the world leaders in artificial intelligence. So they're going to be able to come up with a program that identifies repetitive, or shall we say artificial or purposeful signals in that noise. It's going to be interesting to see. He says, I hope that in the next 3 years we can further improve the reliability of FAST and increase its effective observation time to 50%. The Fermi paradox ponders the lack of evidence of another transmitting intelligent civilization Of all the stars and all the galaxies in the universe, you'd think one intelligent alien race would have bothered to call by now. Well, either we're on the interstellar do not call list, or we're the most advanced life form out there, which is kind of a scary thought. The other idea is that they may have called, but they may be a billion light years away. So I guess, at the speed of light, it's going to take a billion years to get here. We will long be gone by then, I think. The main assumption is that the main assumption we have to make is that our hypothetical alien neighbors have evolved in a similar way to us, except maybe a million years more advanced, because there's a lack of other examples in the cosmos so far. It's a pretty good place to start and logical assumption to make, even though it might be wildly improbable. I mean, we have sent a signal out looking for other intelligent life out there, but we used radio. We used, some low frequency digital signal. One phase of development we assume is that an intelligent race of aliens will have worked out how to transmit radio waves. We've been radio loud for, 120 years or so, 130 years at the most. And most of that's been noise. Most of that's been entertainment. So should any eavesdropping aliens be within 120 light years of Earth, they may have detected us. But guess what? It's going to take another 120 years for them to answer back. Who knows what we're going to be using by then? We may be using beryllium ion modems by then. Pretty cool. All right. Something else in the news I want to talk about is the NATO shakedown. This is what happened the last week. Yes, MG, you do. MG says, do we all send Brooks Agnew love? Yes, you do. Please. I have often said it does not matter how you are loved. A lot of people go through life worrying about that. Stop. Only concern yourself with how you love others. You do that well, everything else will fall into place. And remember this, even Jesus had enemies. We're coming up on the Christmas season. I will do a Christmas special like I do every year. I promise you're going to enjoy it. It's straight from the heart. It comes from 30 years of teaching Sunday school, so it is gospel-based, but it is refreshing, and it's a different viewpoint. I think you'll enjoy it. So don't miss that. If you think you're going to do something else on the Sunday right around Christmas, don't. Or make sure you come back and listen to the archive, because it'll be good. So please send that out, and keep the comments coming. I can kind of read and talk at the same time. And I will respond to excellent things in the chat room, as you can already see. By the way, just to respond to Matrix out there, you know who Brad Olson is. Brad Olson spent 26 days down in Antarctica personally researching all the myths and things that have been put out by, other whistleblower people who will remain unnamed on this program, because that's not what we do here. Found all of them to be mythical. Didn't find any evidence. Did find some no-fly zones, but we probably need more time to research those. But some good information. Brad Olson has now joined the North Pole Inner Earth Expedition team. And we have decided, we've brought a team together this last Tuesday, and we have decided to shoot for August of 2021 as the voyage date for the trip to the Arctic, not the Antarctic, but the Arctic, to look for the opening between the seas, between the surface ocean and the ocean on the inside of the planet. It is going to be epic, no doubt. We're working through some of the technology right now. We just acquired the technology that we need to connect to the satellite from the ship, so we can stream live from the ship with the cameras. We have also been reviewing cameras. Those have changed a lot in the last 10 years. Yes, we're already looking at the Osmo, no question about it. It's top of the line. We're thinking of putting as many as 10 of these cameras on the ship. We will stream from those 10. We'll mix down to 4 channels. We will stream 4 channels live from the ship. Now, guess who gets to see that? You do, live with us. We are getting ready to launch our own TV channel. Our own TV channel. It is going to be pay-per-view. It's not going to be free. It's going to start at about $10 and work its way up. But you will see what we see. And guess what you don't have to wait for? You don't have to wait for August of 2021. Because this summer, we're going to start. We're already beginning to mix down the videos that Brad has and I have, and we're going to put them on the channel so you can watch 30 or 40 videos that we've done around the world chasing down this legend of the Hollow Earth. But you're also going to be able to watch everything we do from now until then. All the interviews at the universities, all the trip we make to Moscow and through St. Petersburg, to Murmansk, to Helsinki. We're going to take that trip so that you can see what we're going to see prior to launch. And that way also we're doing that so that we know where to take 125 scientists from all around the world, so we don't say, hey, where do we go now? Or ask for directions using some kind of universal translator. We're already going to know where we're going, and we're going to look like we know what we're doing. But you can participate in all that. And all you have to do is stay tuned to this channel, to X Squared Radio, to America Free Radio. Subscribe to me at Brooks Agnew, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Minds, Gab, We Go In, We Go all of those. Yes, Codius as well. I've got that. Go to any of those services and you'll be able to keep up with me and be able to keep up with what's going on and know where to subscribe. Loyal subscribers will be treated very well. And yes, to answer your question, yes, we will be selling 20 seats on the voyage. It ain't going to be cheap. They start at $25,000. So if you're a Japanese businessman and you're out there and you love to do things first, you want to do things before anybody else does it, baby, there ain't a better place than this. 100-foot seas, breaking ice with one of the world's most advanced nuclear-powered icebreakers, and it is going to be Everest on steroids. Deadliest Catch wouldn't even be a warm-up act for this. So you stay tuned, and we'll do it. Yes, it's a lot of money. It's about $5 million to pull this off. So we need about 500,000 of you at $10, or we need a lesser amount with more money, but we are going to do this, and we'll make it happen. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the NATO shakedown that occurred this last week. In March of this year, news that Germany refused to meet the financial obligations that come with membership to the NATO organization was met with some ire by the general public. President Trump ran on a platform of holding our NATO allies accountable. You remember that during the campaign? That means that they pay 2% as agreed for the shared armed force. But in 2014, NATO members agreed to increase their contributions to the alliance to the amount of 2%. But almost nobody kept that promise. Since taking office, President Trump has pressured our allies to meet the standards that they set themselves. But don't hold your breath. It's not the small countries that are reneging. It's the big ones. Germany. Germany announced they refused to do it, and they're holding their ground because they said they want to lower the cost and they want to lower the size of the army. Why? Why do you think that is? Because Germany's building another army. They're building a European army. 70 years after its formation, NATO is a shadow of its former self, a husk of the once formidable alliance of anti-Soviet allies. You know why? Because there ain't no Soviet Union anymore. The Soviet menace was at the gate in the twilight of the 1940s. But in practice, The whole NATO thing is a farce. And it doesn't mean it requires less money to operate. Billions and billions of dollars have been siphoned off the NATO force to form side forces that are being run by somebody else. That's right. They're being run by the global syndicate. Who are they being formed against? Why, NATO, of course. In the years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, member states have failed to pay their fair share of the obligations and forced you, United States, to shoulder the burden. Only a few members even bother to host military exercises for the alliance. Even when countries host their fellow members, the United States finds itself footing the bill for the massive costs associated with moving, coordinating, and executing the missions of other armies. Seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? But while our military attention was focused on the mountains of Afghanistan, the streets of Iraq, the deserts of Syria, new threats have emerged. Threats that most of our Western allies are wholly unprepared for. Russia? China? Fueled by chauvinism and motivated by dreams of imperialistic grandeur, launched massive campaigns to expand their militaries and create robust intelligence apparatuses. It's true. It's true. I want to cover just a little bit of that right here. Let's just talk about bombers. The Russian armed forces put into action an ambitious program to modernize and expand the strategic bomber fleet. So in March of 2018, roughly a year before this all fell apart with NATO, and we've been having all this, bad press because the globalist press wants to hurt Donald Trump, and if it means hurting NATO at the same time, they don't care. Russia announced that it would completely overhaul its entire Tu-160 long-range strategic bomber, the whole fleet, by 2030. Well, it doesn't mean they waited till 2030. They started doing it right away. Serial production of the Tu-160M2 will begin in 2023. But guess what? They already have one. The first such warplane is supposed to be delivered in 2021, with 3 more in 2023. But guess what? The Tupolev Tu-160, which is also codenamed Blackjack, it's a long-range supersonic variable-wing strategic bomber designed to penetrate sophisticated air defense systems at low altitude and supersonic speed. We all know that. We have the B-1B, the Lancer, that does the same thing. But in all, this M2 upgrade also features detection reduction coatings, more powerful and efficient engines, giving a greater operational range, new avionics, electronics, a glass cockpit, communications and control systems. This jet's old, but let me show you what happened. The maiden flight of this M2, this 160 M2, took place not in 2021. It took place in 2018. And guess what? The initial contact signed on, or the contract signed on January 25th, 2018, is for the production of, but all this is pretty deceptive, and I've got to run down here really quick and let you see what happened here. We're still flying B-52s, and one of the questions you all are asking, and I ask, is just how fast are these bombers? Well, on November 3rd, 2019, which was just about a week ago, an unusual incident took place in the skies over the Japanese Sea when the Russian Tu-160, we're not really sure how this happened because they're not supposed to deliver the first one of these until 2021. But the Tu-160 supersonic bomber has been around for a long time, been around since the 60s, the design. An unusual incident took place. 2 U.S. F-35 fighter jets tried to intercept the bomber performing a surveillance mission. According to the Russian newspaper Vizgliad, with reference to the Chinese edition Sina, wrote that American fighters lost sight of the Russian Aerospace Force bomber who easily moved away from them. Yes, the Tu-160, evidently an M2, was performing a routine flight on November 3rd over the Japanese Sea when two F-35s approached, one on either side, intending to escort him. At this point, the Russian bomber suddenly accelerated, triggering the afterburner and increasing the speed to Mach 2.05. According to the publication, the two F-35 fighters, the most advanced fighters in the world by all accounts, also reached, but a little too late. When the acceleration was turned on, the radar still detected the Tu-160, but the pilot no longer saw it. Noting while the Tu-160 has a top speed of Mach 2.05, which is 1,570 miles per hour, the F-35 only reaches Mach 1.6, which is about 1,200 miles an hour. That's about 375 miles an hour difference. The Chinese edition notes how the 110-ton Russian aircraft was able to easily move away from the 13-ton American fighters. Fighters from NATO and allied countries are constantly trying to control all flights of the Tu-160 and other Russian bombers, and they cannot do it. We have the XB-70. That's the old Valkyrie. It was conceived of in the 1950s. They built a few of them in the 1960s. Let's see, flies at Mach 3.2, but it did its first flight in September 21st of 1964. Yeah, it was the world's largest experimental aircraft capable of flying at Mach 3 at altitudes of 70,000 feet. It was used to collect in-flight information for use in the design of future supersonic aircraft, military and civilian. And then we had the SR-71. That's capable of cruising at speeds of Mach 3.2. The SR-71 Blackbird was the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft to ever see operational service. But even though its performance has never been matched, the SR-71 was retired as the Cold War drew to a close and are all sitting in March Air Force Base in Southern California. But the question always comes up, do we have anything faster? Do we need anything faster? And the answer is yes, we do. We have the X-37B. And you can read about it in the book Charm of Favor, which I wrote, but we will cover it next week. Right here on America Free Radio. This is X Squared Radio. I am your host, Brooks Agnew, saying, peace, Earth Explorers. Go out, look for the good in others, and help it to grow a little bit every day. And before long, you will have saved the planet. We'll see you next week right here on America Free Radio.